Hello everybody, welcome back to Red Heart Village. Not a whole lot has changed since yesterday. The roads are still blocked. The market is still closed. It seems that local governments are basically just completely disregarding what the central government says. Even though they're threatening, severe punishments for not complying. Which makes me wonder what are things going to be like after this? I don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to take people and make an example of somebody? Or are they going to just, never mind it? It really seems like people are getting the idea that, the central government has no teeth at this point. They're saying for people to go back to work, but they can't. They can't go back to work. They're all stuck. And we're stuck. Speaking of the closed market, I actually, we went to the market yesterday. I went back to after making the video, we went to the town center and I snuck into the market with the other people. It was a really interesting experience. I've got a video of it here. Kind of the way it works, at different intervals, the guy inside will open the door halfway and you kind of get inside, go and do your shopping. There was actually quite a few people in there, as you can see. And, well, then you have to wait, though, because he has to let you out when he knows it's clear. Then he'll open the door and you go out, and everybody kind of rushes out in this big crowd. Everybody's waiting for their chance to get in or to get out. I've got, it was... If you saw the little clip there, then you know what I'm talking about. It was interesting. But I did get some snacks. And my mother-in-law bought a bunch of stuff, tons of vegetables. I haven't been to that, whatever they've got set up in the old brick factory. I think they're just selling vegetables. Well, one of the ladies looked like she had eggs yesterday. I don't know, but yeah, there's a lot of that going on. People selling stuff, sort of a black market type system, I guess, because they can't do it the normal way. And this is not how things are supposed to be. So, I really don't know. Someone asked in the comments what sort of changes I see coming for China after this, and I really don't know. It just looks like a big mess. When this thing is finally over, I don't know how society is going to work. I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully everything can go back to normal, and life can go on, and the economy can start to recover a bit. But, well, I just don't know what's going to happen. Again, I'm no expert, and I wish I could see the future, but I can't. There's a lot of scenarios I can think of, but I really just don't know what's going to happen. Now, yesterday we talked a bit about Grandpa and his brothers, their whole situation with getting separated, and half of them going to Taiwan and the other half being stuck here in mainland. And today I really want to focus a little bit on Grandma's story, because it's quite a story. His story is quite a story, but so is hers. So Grandma actually comes from a really poor family, I guess, and so they didn't have money to begin with. Her family home was actually not far from here. When I drive from here to go to the nearby train station, it actually passes the area where she was from. So you know that as we talked about the famine and everything that hit, that happened when she was pretty young. And at the time, because they didn't have enough food, her parents and her family, they sent her to go stay with her aunt while the whole famine thing was going on. And she was very young at the time. As we mentioned, she doesn't remember her parents' names. They died when she was very young. She had kind of tried to, with the help of her aunt, they kind of snuck some food or hid some food, that she could then bring to help her sister, because of course everybody was starving. She had several brothers that were much older. Everybody was starving. The way that I've heard it described, there were just dead people everywhere. Literally walking around, there'd just be dead people everywhere. Dead and dying people from starvation. So she managed to sneak some food, and they hid some food and collected some that she was able to give to her sister, basically to save her life so that she had something to eat. And she had tried to do the same thing for her parents. She was just a little girl, and I guess she'd collected a bunch of vegetables, and she was trying to carry that back to her parents so that they would have something to eat. And some guys came along, and they asked, what do you have there? And of course, she had some vegetables, and they just basically told her to give them to them. And she cried and begged them and told them it was for her parents. And they didn't listen, and they just took the vegetables, and of course, she was left with that, and then of course her parents died. I don't know that they died just from that one time, but in the end her parents did die. Her brothers, they all the same fate. She's a very small person, so I think that her comments were just being surprised how so many big, strong people didn't make it, and someone like her was able to make it through the whole thing. So yeah, most of her family died, and like I said, there were just dead people everywhere, dead and dying people, everybody struggling. And of course, the way communism works, anything you did have, you had to give to the government, and they were the ones distributing it out. So any food that they managed to sneak was something that if they'd been caught, they would have been in serious trouble. But yeah, most of her family didn't make it. She did eventually meet Grandpa, of course, as you know, and they got married and they lived in a little place, and well, the rest is history. Things have improved dramatically since those times. But with this virus thing, it's nothing new to them. Sometimes their comments they're funny when they talk about, the things that the government is saying. They've been through all this before, so they say it's like, what was Grandpa's comment about this whole thing? If you've seen my videos, you know that there's a loudspeaker in the village, in the middle of the village, that blasts a bunch of announcements all the time. And Grandpa's comment was something about, it's like a bald man with no hair just walking into a thorn bush, and you, you kind of know the result before. I'm butchering the comment that he made. Obviously my translation skills are not very good, but you know what's going to happen is basically what he said. So their announcements, everybody already knows what's going on, and it's just ridiculous. People's attitudes toward all this, they're not really supportive of what's going on. I mean, yeah, of course they support helping people and all of that, but whatever the people are saying, they just think like, the government just says what it says, and everybody just kind of says whatever, Another thing, I know a lot of people are teachers. A lot of the foreigners that are here in China are teachers. Not all of them are like professionals or engineers or anything, but there's the vast majority, I think, are teachers. And most of the schools are basically closed indefinitely. I've heard, they keep pushing the dates back until now. They're just, when it's over, they'll open. So there's a lot of people not going to work. There's a lot of people not going to school. And a big thing that has started to pop up is online classes. If you're looking for work or something, if you're interested, I'm sure that there's a lot of opportunity to teach online, to teach English online to Chinese kids. Something to look into. For me, I have to figure out what I'm going to do, because I don't know when I'm going to be able to go and talk to any of these manufacturers that I usually buy from, and I have no idea when that's going to be possible. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Obviously, we've got enough to get by, but I'd really like to be making money instead of spending money. It's quite a position to be in. Yeah, this whole virus thing and the people blocking the roads is getting pretty old. And especially the part where you can't go into certain cities if your license plate is from a different city. This sounds like the way it used to be back in like the 60s and 70s. Back when Grandma and Grandpa were young, you basically couldn't leave your town. You were stuck unless you got some special paper or something that allowed you to go to another city, which that's what it feels like right now. I could probably get past the people in the town. They wouldn't let me back in, but I could get past them, and I could get onto the freeway, which right now apparently they're not charging tolls, so I could drive around forever, but I wouldn't be able to get into a lot of cities because my license plate isn't from there. So that's a disaster. I can't believe that they're allowing this to happen. But then again, I don't know what the central government would do. I mean, what are they going to do? Send the military in to force all the roads open? I don't know. I don't think they have the resources to be able to pull that off all the way across China. But I really do wish that they would stop blocking the roads. At this point, I feel like the local town people are just... It's not the town people, it's the government, of course. And the only reason that they're doing it at this point is so they can continue to make money off of, the groceries or whatever that they're delivering to people because they're stuck in their homes. Just another way to make some extra money, some kind of ridiculous, corrupt sort of thing, which I thought the central government was working to get rid of. And they do say you can report people, but man, if you do, you're going to be facing some kind of retribution. As you saw in that video I had the other day of the lady trying to go out, they just say, we'll just cancel all of your benefits or something. And well, that's a pretty serious deal. You don't want to get blacklisted. And who knows what kind of power these people have to do things, if they just start making false reports about you. What are you supposed to do? So, yeah, reporting them is probably not a good idea. I don't think they really care about the damage they're causing to the economy by keeping everybody locked up, but it sure is annoying. I really hope things go back to normal soon. As for the numbers of people infected and people dying, I've kind of stopped checking that now. It's, 100 people dying a day. I mean, it's really depressing to look at, especially when you're stuck out here. Oh, there is another thing I can report to you guys. So, I was worried that at some point the electrical grid would become unstable. And I don't know what's happening in the rest of the country, really. This sort of thing doesn't get reported. But out here, the power has gone out maybe 2 or 3 times today. And yeah, I mean, what do you expect when you don't let people go back to work? Who's running the power plants? That's something that I keep wondering. Who's actually out there running this stuff or maintaining the grid? Just a real mess. Now, one thing that I do know is that the cases of the virus, as far as it's spreading outside of Hubei province, which is the epicenter of the whole thing, that is very limited. There's very few, so I think they may have actually gotten this contained. Now, in Hubei province, it's still completely out of control, but everywhere else, I think it's pretty well under control at this point. I mean, if you go with the numbers they're giving, but it doesn't sound like things are spreading so bad. So I guess it's a good reason to open up the roads, not that they're going to. But yeah, that's encouraging to hear. Most of the new cases and the vast majority of new cases and deaths are all happening in Hubei province. I mean, it's unfortunate for the people in Hubei province, but I'm not in Hubei province and most people aren't, so it's a good sign, is all I'm saying. It's a good sign that things are getting under control. I think when this whole thing is over, I've mentioned a lot of places that I want to go visit, but one of them is Yunnan province. I haven't been there in so many years. The first time I went out there was actually quite an adventure. So at the time, that China has the high-speed or bullet trains. They also have something called the green train, or the slow train, as Chinese people like to call it. And, well, back then, I decided to take that across the country to go to Yunnan province to visit a little tiny city called Ruli. Yeah, what an experience that was. So, I think I was on the train for 5 days. 5 days on a train. If anybody who's watching this has been to China and has ridden on the slow train, just imagine that. It's not like, how would I describe it? So I got a bed. Now the bed was more like a shelf. Maybe I can find a picture of it, I don't know. But that was my bed, it was my seat, and it was a long, long ride. And train food, on the green train is not so great. They have people that go back and forth with carts. You can get instant noodles. Sometimes they'll have like a meal. I don't know how the meal works. It's like maybe have some eggs or something in it. But yeah, not a fun way to travel. It can be interesting taking the old train if you can understand Chinese, that is. Because as you go along and people get on in different cities, you get to hear the gossip or whatever the news is from different places as they talk to each other. It can be a fun experience, just not for a week. That's probably not the best. But really, it's such an interesting place. It's right on the border with Burma. Or is it Myanmar? I'm not sure what they call it these days. But it's right on the border. So there's some cross-cultural things going on there. Very interesting place. Warm all year round. The thing that I remember most about it were the drinks. They make these drinks out of fresh fruit and things. You know, it's probably the best I've ever had in my life. I haven't been out there in a number of years, but boy, was it good. And the night markets. I've heard they've since closed down all the night markets, but delicious food. Lots of really fresh seafood. Lots of bat soup. No, I'm just kidding about the bat soup. Don't ever eat bat soup. That's a bad move. Apparently you can get something like the coronavirus. I don't know. But yeah, delicious food, delicious drinks. There was also this... I felt bad. There was this beggar guy there. And for whatever reason, everywhere I went in that city, there he would be. And, you know, one day I finally gave him some money, but all I had were some American coins, so I gave him some quarters. And the guy realized, you know, once he got it from me that, hey, I can't do anything with this. And anyway, he wasn't too happy about it. But from then on, I still kept encountering the guy everywhere I went in this city. And every time he would see me, he'd get this look of disgust on his face. He'd turn around and walk the other way. I always felt bad about that. I wasn't trying to mess things up for him or something, but yeah, I guess he figured that I was just playing a trick on him. I don't know. Yeah, what an interesting experience that was. Maybe after this I'll have to go back. It's been so long. To get there, probably what would have been better would have been to take a plane to Kunming, which is pretty close. That's the capital of the of Yunnan province. Again, beautiful place, warm all year round, lots of interesting food. But yeah, maybe don't take the train. Take a plane to Kunming, and I'm not sure that back then there wasn't a train station that I know of in Ruli. I had to take a bus for 12 hours through the mountains to get there. That was another fun experience. That was my first experience with something called the sleeping bus. So when I was told it's a sleeping bus, I'm thinking like, what does that mean? Like, you know, I know it's going to be overnight, but what does that mean? So I get on this bus, and where there would be seats, there are bunk beds. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're too small for someone my size. So I kind of folded myself up into this bunk bed right next to a window, and just look out this window as we're driving along next to these giant cliffs or these huge mountains, and thinking, wow, one wrong move and I'm going to be watching us tumbling down the side of the cliff. Needless to say, I didn't sleep much on this sleeping bus. There was too much cigarette smoke going around and people singing and watching movies and stuff. This was before smartphones were really a thing. They had like a TV screen with karaoke stuff playing on it, and all the people are just singing this thing and smoking cigarettes. Which, yeah, they will sometimes smoke on the bus. It's not so much these days, but back then people smoked everywhere. So, yeah, on the bus with people smoking, everybody's eating these snacks and instant noodles. That's a popular thing, by the way. When Chinese people travel, for whatever reason, they just love to eat instant noodles. And they always bring along tons and tons of snacks. Maybe that's something people do everywhere, but yeah, if you ever travel with Chinese people, they just load up on all these snacks. Whether it be the train, the plane, or the sleeping bus, apparently. Really good adventure, though. Thinking back on those days, I really miss it. Somebody will have to tell me what they think sounds like the most interesting place that I've mentioned in these videos. And maybe when this whole thing is over, I'll make a a better quality video just documenting a trip out to one of those places. So that'd be a lot of fun for me, especially after having been stuck in this little village for so long. I'm ready to get out of here, but well, as I said, the roads are not open. Now, I wonder if anybody has noticed something. There's a lot more water building up out here. I think it's been building up over the last few days. It looks like they're starting to flood some of the rice paddies. They'll probably get those ready to start growing stuff for the next season. So, if you look here, you can see it at the very beginning, just with water. I'm not sure what the next step is on that, but they're going to make a lot of mud, and before long, this place will be just swarmed with mosquitoes and every other kind of bug you can think of. Not to mention snakes and that sort of thing. My wife is always worried about snakes out here. She says, oh, with the water, then the snakes will come. But I don't think they're poisonous. I haven't heard anything about poisonous snakes out here, which is good. I always tell people, you know, in the United States, there are so many poisonous snakes, you never know. But out here, I don't think they have a lot of poisonous snakes. At least not in this part of China. I think the most dangerous thing that I've ever seen is a centipede. But I don't know. I think that'll maybe make you sick. It might hurt if it bit you. But yeah, poisonous snakes, not a big deal. Mosquitoes are sure annoying, though. They get so many mosquitoes out here in these rice paddies. During the summer, it really makes it almost just impossible to even really go anywhere, because you just get swarmed with tons of mosquitoes and you'll just be covered with mosquito bites. They have all kinds of natural things that they get. These weird bottles of green stuff that they put on themselves to make the mosquitoes go away. It's been my experience that it isn't effective. It does nothing. So, but I guess that's what they use. Maybe it just doesn't work on me because I'm a foreigner. I don't know. I'm already starting to see a lot of bugs flying around out here. Not mosquitoes, thankfully, but there are a lot of other bugs. Maybe the bugs have figured it out. The warm weather's coming back. It's still pretty cold today, but by the end of the week, it should be back to spring-type weather. I'm looking forward to it. I'm sick and tired of this cold weather. I don't want to see any more snow. Not for a long time. Oh, by the way, you probably noticed that I'm not wearing the face mask. That's because I'm way out here away from everybody. Somebody commented on that. Yeah, a lot of times you get people going by on carts and scooters and motorcycles, so I like to wear it because, well, you never know. I don't want to get sick. But today I'm far enough out in the fields that nobody's coming over here to bother me, so not a problem. Seems that I spoke too soon. Just as I was saying, there is nobody coming out here to bother me. Well, wouldn't you know it, there's a cart coming. So here comes the neighbor. Going up to who knows where. He's about to hit a bunch of mud, is what it looks like. So we'll wait for him to go by, and then we can continue. Oh, that was fun. Trying to explain to an old guy who's not even using Mandarin what I'm doing. I'm just recording. This is my phone. Oh, what did I say? Lots of traffic suddenly. There's another one. Good thing I brought the mask with me. Oh, which reminds me, I guess I can touch a little bit on what I think is going to happen here in China after this is all over. I said, you know, I can't see the future, but what I can see is there's going to be a lot of trouble, especially when they finally unlock Hubei province. I don't think those people are going to have a lot of good stories to share about their experience. And this whole being stuck in villages and communities, this is pretty widespread across China. As well as a lot of rumors going around, you know, that where the virus came from, maybe the government's responsible. Now, those are rumors. There's nothing to back those up, but that's what people are talking about. And something happened with their basically the equivalent of their president here, Xi Jinping, had come out and said that he was on top of this virus situation, I guess, from the beginning. I'm really destroying his words there. That's not exactly what he said, but they were working on it essentially right from the beginning, and well, Chinese people came out and said, well, then you're responsible for the cover-up, which isn't the case, I don't think. I really don't know. I have no idea. I can just tell you what I'm hearing from Chinese people, and they're not happy. I've heard a lot of people online, before they shut it all down, a lot of people talking about greater freedom of speech and just more freedoms overall. I've heard of protests happening in Guangdong province before this started. There's been a lot of word about food riots in different places. So when it's all over, I don't know. It doesn't sound good. That's all I can say. Maybe it is good. I don't know. Maybe some good things will come of this. Maybe the government will be much better prepared for dealing with a disaster like this. Maybe I wish they'd get rid of the Great Firewall here that keeps me from getting on the normal internet. But, well, that's none of my business, I suppose. But who knows? I can't see the future again, but, well, I think there's a lot of angry people, and there's a lot of misunderstanding and rumors going around, and I guess we'll just have to see. And I see mixed reports. So I heard that Donald Trump and Xi Jinping speak well of each other, but then I see reports from other parts of the Chinese government coming out condemning the United States. I've heard a lot of new things about, blocking Huawei, which has been a big deal before this happened, and then I hear from Huawei that soon they'll be back to selling products in the United States. So there's a lot of conflicting information coming to me, at least. But of course, I'm not an authority on anything, except, what it's like living here, I guess. But I just don't know. I honestly don't know what is going to happen after this is over. I could see a housing crisis, or not a crisis, but a collapse in the pricing for housing and, building houses. I could definitely see that happening with businesses closing and people not having money from work. I just see people dumping the houses that they've invested in or trying to. And then the market's just going to be flooded and there's not going to be anybody to buy it. That could lead to other problems. I just don't know. I'm not an economist, obviously, so I don't know. But those are the kinds of things that I see. And it's a little worrying. Nobody wants to see everything get destabilized. I mean, that'll have impact on not just China, but everywhere around the world. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. Hopefully something good comes out of this, because so far it's just been a lot of death and mayhem, and that's not been good. So I don't know. Again, as I mentioned in the comments, I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen as a result of all this. I just know what I've been hearing, and it's really shocking to hear Chinese people being bold enough to get on their WeChat or on some Weibo or something and start talking about greater freedoms for the people. That's really something. Now, as you see here in town, the locals are not too inclined for greater freedoms. They're locking everybody down and preventing them from going back to work. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I suppose that's probably about all I've got for today. Not a lot to talk about. Just another day stuck out here in the village. So until tomorrow, if the internet holds out and the power holds out, then I guess we'll see you then.